Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome back to the Lyoko Retrospectives. Two apologies on the forefront. I apologize for this. I'm doing this in the morning so the sun is kind of shining in through my window. And secondly, I'd also like to apologize if I don't feel as into the vlog as I am usually. It's not been a good morning, so to speak. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I'm not as into it as I normally am. But anyway, today we're going to be discussing episode 35 of Code Lyoko, The Chips Are Down. And in this episode, Yumi's family is having some financial problems. Her father has lost his job, and unfortunately, he's kind of strapped for cash and trying to look for work. As a result of this, Yumi's family is talking about possibly moving back to Japan so he can find some work. Nothing is set in stone yet, but it's a possibility, and it's a possibility, one that Ulrich is not happy with if it actually occurs. He tries finding alternatives, including guys teenagers do writing to their governor, but he can't seem to do anything. And even as the day goes by, he's just getting more and more nervous. That is until he hears the lottery. No, that is until he hears the lottery over the radio. At which point, he suddenly gets an idea. Once they list off all the winning lottery numbers, Ulrich writes them down, and well, and once that happens, the return to the past the return to the past program is activated, causing the data rewind back to the beginning. Of course, the Lyoko group is like, "What the hell? Did Xana take control of the return to the past function again?" But when they try talking to Ulrich, he seems a bit wistful and doesn't really and says he's got things he needs to do. At which point he goes to Yumi's house and gives a lottery ticket to her parents, and yeah, you can easily figure this out. It's Ulrich that activated the return to the past function. And his plan was to pretty much, in other words, he's pretty much just doing the classic time traveler thing of winning the lottery. As such, he gives the winning ticket to Yumi's father, and of course his family's just awestruck. But when Yumi hears this, she's a little suspicious because well, her dad never plays the lottery. But at which point her parents say, well, actually, Ulrich was the one that gave this to us, and the group and Jeremy on top of that, when Jeremy and Aelita go to investigate the supercomputer, they do find that it wasn't that no towers are activated, and Zaman hasn't taken control of the return to the past function again. Instead, they figure out that it was activated manually, and just with all the context clues, they're able to figure out that it was Ulrich, most likely having utilized a manual Jeremy has, which apparently he has, which actually, wait, no, it makes sense. We have seen it with a manual. Never mind. So yeah, the bottom line, they'll figure out that Ulrich was the one that activated the return to the past function, and the group confronts him, and while he tries playing dumb a little bit, he does fess up. He apologizes immensely, and the group is rightfully pissed at him because the return to the past function is supposed to be in case of emergencies, and he instead used this to help you. He instead used it to help Yumi, and Yumi is outraged because she didn't ask for this. And on top of that, as they established throughout the season, using the return to the past function makes Xana stronger. So that's why it's been reduced to in case of emergencies. So he's just done something stupid for his own selfish reasons, and the group is obviously angry with him. Yumi throwing the lottery ticket back in his face, saying that her parents think he should have it since he's the one that bought it. And Jeremy pretty much just telling Ulrich that he's out of the group because they don't feel like they can trust him now. The only one that the only member of the group that is still kind of sympathetic to him is Aelita, who actually tells him, "I hope things will work. I'm sure things will work out," which I think makes sense considering her character. But at the same time, yeah, this does kind of hit close to home for the group, and especially Ulrich, because yeah, he effed up. He effed up bad, and as a result, none of the group trusts him right now. And of course, Xana being someone to always take advantage of an opportunity, decides this is time to strike as he activates a tower and this time possesses Nicholas, the one of Sissy's little cronies, the kind of the bigger, dumber guy. But and essentially, what I like here is that Xana just kind of lets things. Well, once more, I like seeing Xana act as the passive observer, as In this case, once he activates a tower, the group, Jeremy is aware of it immediately, and he alerts the group, and they go to the tower, and they go to the supercomputer, with Nicholas following right behind them. I kind of like that. He doesn't need to throw Aelita into Lyoko. He knows that it's going to happen either way. All Xena has to do is activate a tower, and they'll go into Lyoko. However, the group doesn't want to invite. However, again, Ulrich's not invited because again, the group doesn't trust him right now. But once Odd, Yumi, and Aelita get into Lyoko, they're immediately accosted by a herd. I guess I can just say a herd of crab monsters, which is, I don't know if this is a side effect of Xana getting stronger. It could easily be because we've never seen this many monsters together in one group. No, possibly once in the Ghost Channel episode. But either way, yeah. Xana is kind of prepared for this. On top of that, after they get virtualized into Lyoko, Nicholas appears, knocks out Jeremy, and then screws with the supercomputer so that the scanners are deactivated. Meaning that if the group gets killed in Lyoko, then they get killed for realsies. With an added side effect of apparently they can feel pain now whenever they get hurt, as Yumi and Odd are shot at by the crabs, and it ends up really hurting them. The group manages to find cover behind a rock, and Aelita manages to use her powers to create a giant wall of sand to keep the crabs occupied, but even they know it's temporary. As such, meanwhile at school, Ulrich is just kind of spending time alone, those sissies hanging around him because, in her words, if he's feeling bad, he needs to be around his friends. But that's when Herb shows up and says he's been looking for Sissy. She tells him to get lost and go hang out with Nicholas, but he says, I can't find him either, and the last time I saw him, he was in class. He followed the group out, he was talking weird, and his eyes were funny. And Ulrich, with his experience, knows that it's Santa, so the instant their backs are turned, he pulls a Batman and runs off. He manages to get to the factory where he finds Nicholas, and he manages to trick him into going into the elevator before shorting it out and just kind of causing it to freeze. He manages to wake up Jeremy, and pretty much at this point he's just ready to. At this point, it's an in case of emergency type. At this point, Jeremy's not going to stay mad at him in this kind of situation because at this point the group needs him, and the group needs help. So, or as such, Ulrich ends up getting sent into Lyoko, and from there it's again standard fare. Jeremy manages to reactivate the scanners, and the group manages to fight their way through at least through the various hordes of crabs before Aelita manages to get to the tower and deactivates it. As you do, Nicholas managed to escape from the elevator and nearly kill Jeremy before Xana was thrown out. So the group, thankfully, unlike Jim, he passed out when he was free, so they were able to just bring him to the nursery without having to turn back time. As such, the episode ends with the group just kind of talking. It seems like all is forgiven with Ulrich. He says he's going to give the money from the lottery ticket to a charity, and Yumi gets a call from her parents saying that her dad found another job, but this one a bit closer to home. So, okay. So, what do I think of this episode? All right, it's all right-ish, I suppose. I think my biggest problem for me is the betrayal from Ulrich, and it's not the betrayal itself that kind of gets me. That one, honestly, that kind of makes sense. And the thing is, we as humans are not infallible. We can make stupid, very unthought out mistakes. We can make very stupid and admittedly very selfish mistakes. Even the best of us, we can do something incredibly stupid if we're desperate enough. And in the case of Ulrich to Yumi, it makes sense why he would get this desperate. It was a stupid move, incredibly stupid. And Ulrich does realize that he effed up. My problem is how quickly it was forgiven. I can understand the group pushing that aside in case of emergency if Ulrich's willing to help, which again makes sense. But again, I feel like once the episode is over, there should still be some slight animosity. Not enough for them to say we don't want you and we don't want to be friends with you anymore, but enough to say, look, we know you made a mistake, and we're willing to forgive you, but you still got to earn back our trust, because trust is kind of a sacred thing. When you break that, it's very hard to put it back together. It's possible, but it takes a long time. But it can take a while. In some, not again, Code Lyoko's case, I don't expect them to just like say in the next episode that they still have some animosity towards Ulrich, but because that's kind of how Code Lyoko is. Code Lyoko is, and they even did something similar in Ben. But at the same time, I feel like there should by the end of the episode things shouldn't be completely resolved. I'm guessing by the next episode everything will be fine. But again, at least in the context of this episode, it shouldn't be. I think a good parallel for me would be in the episode Kevin 11 from classic Ben 10. In that episode, Ben broke his grandfather's trust and did something incredibly stupid. And it wound up leading to the creation of one of his villains, Kevin 11. By the end of the episode, he's apologizing and he regrets what he did. He knows it was stupid. And while his grandfather does forgive him, he does say that his trust is something that he does say that his trust with Ben has to be earned back. Again, by the next episode, things are kind of fine, which was because they were family. But things weren't just hunky dory by the time the episode was over, which is something that I feel like this episode should have been. I feel like that's kind of what should have happened with the group. I feel like that while they would still accept Ulrich back in and say we're still friends here, I feel like there should still be, but we should, but we need, but until we can, but we still gonna, but I think we should. I feel like there should still be some slight animosity, not for them to push him away, but enough for Ulrich to know he's still gonna have to put some work in to get their trust back, which I think would have been a better decision here. Instead, it's just kind of the standard wrap up where, oh, it's fine, we trust you again, and whatever. I don't like that. I also don't like. Another thing I also don't like, which is just kind of my personal thing, I don't like that Yumi's dad just managed to find a job right away. I think it still would have been better if it was left ambiguous whether her parents were still having those problems by the end of the episode, wherein they say, my dad's still going to try and look for work. My dad's still trying to look for work. Yeah, I like that. It would still keep the level of uncertainty there. I think that would really be nice. So they could keep it up for like maybe a couple episodes before things get resolved. But until then, I don't know. I don't like that. I feel like that should have been something that should have been left hanging for a later episode instead of just being resolved at the end, which is kind of how Lyoko is. They like to wrap everything up in a little bow by the end of the episode. And while I'm not against that, and for the most part, there are some stories and I think some issues that I think should be left a little bit open-ended. It shouldn't just be, oh, everything's fine now by the end. I don't like. With that being said, there were still aspects of the episode that I liked. It is nice to see kind of the group make such a boneheaded mistake, and it is nice to see this giant character flaw in Ulrich. Again, it's not unreasonable, and it does make sense why he would do it. And to his credit, while there is still animosity, while the group does kind of get angry at him and does kind of kick him out when he realizes they're in danger because of Xana, he still rushes to their help and they still accept it because again, serious danger. They're not just going to do something. They're not going to keep this up. They're not going to keep this up. If he's willing to help, they'll take it. Especially if the odds were as stacked against them as they were with the scanners being deactivated and the herd of crabs that they were dealing with. Again, stuff like that I kind of like. And this one might have been unintentional or fully intentional, but Nicholas was so stupid as Xana, and I think that was hilarious. Like Xana, this was the guy that I feel like that the Xana's villain trope should come through in. Because he's trying to do the evil thing like, I'm doing your bidding, or he's trying to do the evil laugh, but because it's Nicholas, he just sounds so stupid. It's hilarious. And again, I know Nicholas does kind of have that dumb character trope going on, but when you actually try to throw him into the serious villain role and he tries to do the villain tropes, I'm sorry, it just becomes so funny. So that was kind of unintentionally hilarious, and I liked that. But again, overall though, the episode for me was just alright-ish, kind of alright to meh, for me. Again, what holds it back, in my opinion, is not the betrayal itself, but just how quickly everything was resolved, and how everything was just and how it was all put, but just how quickly everything was resolved. In my opinion, I feel like these issues should be more open-ended, that they shouldn't just be wrapped up in a little bow by the end of the story. It should be more it should actually be more complex. I know, kids show, but again, stuff like this, I feel like shouldn't just be brushed under the rug, so to speak. And if it's not brushed under the rug, if they do acknowledge it in a later episode, then I'll take what I said back. But otherwise, yeah, that's not something. It feels like there should be more. Sorry, my dog's shaking right there, and he's getting antsy. So I pretty much said all my everything I wanted to say anyway. I thought the episode was all right to meh for me. Again, the major deciding factor was the breaking of the trust and the group's reaction to it. I feel like that it should have had more to it, and it felt like it was resolved too quickly. Otherwise, I thought the rest of the episode was fine. I thought the rest of the episode was fine, but just I feel like it should have. I just felt like it should have been more. Again, again, yeah. That's pretty much it. Overall, to all right, maybe more just yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson. I'll see you next week. Take care.